Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee. I think I made the mistake of standing at the podium last time, so I'm going to choose to sit down this time. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you House Bill 398. I know we've had a couple versions floating around, so I want to make sure I've got the right one that you've got in front of you here. I'll be reading from LC 365525S. All right, thank you. I want to take just a brief point of personal privilege to thank the folks behind me. I think half the room we have here is against my bill and half may be for it. And so my personal policy has always been to open door, listen to folks. And I appreciate everyone who's come out and talked to me and the chairman and members of the committee in regards to this bill. HB 398 at the end of the day does this. It codifies what Georgians already believe. And that is when you buy a ticket with your hard-earned dollars, that's your ticket. And you can do what you want, what you want to do with it, where you please. This afternoon, you're going to hear from several large organizations throughout Georgia kind of decrying the end of entertainment in Georgia. The simple reality is this. This bill is passed in Utah, Virginia, Connecticut, red states, blue states across the country. This bill is not about a Stubhub. It's not about a Ticketmaster. It's not about any of those organizations. It's about you and I coming to the Capitol to stand up and fight tooth and nail for our constituents every single day who believe that they've got a right, once they buy that ticket, to do with it as they please. The question that's always bugged me in regards to this bill, and what you'll hear today is this. Does your organization currently allow for the transfer of tickets? Yes. Sweet. Are you in favor of House Bill 398? No. So why is that? Technology has allowed some of these organizations to keep you, the consumer, trapped in an ecosystem where you attend the event, you buy your ticket, and then you also must resell your ticket within that same platform, leaving you, the consumer, to be profited on by your data and be profited on by keeping you in a closed loop system. We are here today to break that system, free the consumer, and free their ability to do what they want with their ticket. Technology has stripped away the rights from us, the constituent. Not long ago, we had paper tickets. I think many of us remember that. You had a paper ticket. You could give it to a friend. You could sell it to a neighbor. You could do with it as you pleased. With the advancement of technology, that ticket is no longer free to you. You've lost rights. This bill restores those rights to you, the consumer. So whether the ticket is paper, whether it's electronic, the facts are absolutely the same. If you spend your hard-earned dollars here in Georgia, that ticket belongs to you, plain and simple. So I asked the committee today the simple question: who are we going to stand up for? Are we going to stand up for large organizations, in-state, out-of-state? Or are we going to stand up for our constituents, the consumers, who use their hard-earned dollars to buy tickets in the state? I'm happy to walk through the bill, answer any questions. I appreciate your time.
Be me.
Ridley.
Thank you. Couple questions. You said this is what Georgians believe. Where are the Georgians that believe this? Because only people I see is Stubhub here. They're not Georgians.
There's a number of Georgians. There's a number of large organizations on both sides of this bill behind me. In my district, a lot of hardworking Georgians are at home right now trying to earn that money to buy these tickets.
But they've not been an article wrote up in paper where a bunch of Georgians have said, I'd try to buy tickets or any of that stuff. So where are these? I mean, listen, we're in politics. We trust me. Where's Casey's haircutting bill at? We hear from Georgians whenever you want to do stuff, but we've not heard from one single person.
That's because the constituents right now, they're able to transfer their tickets. What the teams and the venues and the folks behind me are trying to say is we let them transfer the tickets under our terms. We can shut that down at any minute. So because constituents aren't being harmed yet unless this is codified.
But you're saying it's not happening right now, but it could. So everybody's able to transfer tickets. Everybody's able to do anything they want to with that ticket right now. But you're coming up with a bill to strip all that away because of something that could happen?
No, so Ticketmaster right now, they own about 90% of the 80 to 90% of the ticket market. So when they acquired Live Nation in 2010, the DOJ even looked into it and said, this is coming up against a monopoly. And so right now, consumers find themselves trapped in that monopoly, where if you buy Ticketmaster, Live Nation is hosting the event, selling the ticket, and then controlling how you resell that ticket. I mean, if I'd be happy to line up constituents at a podium to testify to that, but folks are losing out on a free market.
Mr. Chairman, one more question if I could. So we don't have any Georgians here that we don't have a problem right now, but we could possibly have one. But we've got the Atlanta Braves, the Hawks, the NBA team here in Georgia, the Falcons, the PGA, NASCAR, some other college teams, music venues, music promoters, and even ticket buyers that says this is the worst bill that they've ever seen. And that and if we pass this, you say it's been passed in other states, this version has not. We'd actually be the only state in the United States that's passed this.
So all those organizations seek to profit on the status quo. So they're going to be against it. What's happening is there is a problem. There's a very clear problem right now that the way technology is being leveraged, the consumer has lost their right to do what they want with their ticket.
But you just said they could do what they wanted to do with the ticket right now.
That's what the teams will come up here and testify to.
You just said that. You said there's not a problem. They can transfer them. They can do anything they want.
That's what I've been told is they can transfer it, but in a heartbeat's notice, Ticketmaster can shut that down.
Have we always come up with legislation on if something might happen? Well, that's true. All right. Thank you.
Oh, well, we had lights buzzing on and off. Number 10, Chairman Collins.
I just have one question. I'm not for your bill, and I've made that very clear, and I don't want to belabor the point here, but prohibiting the transfer of tickets. Do they disclose that on the notice that if you buy this ticket, you can't transfer it? I mean, is that something that's being done? That, you know, if I go on and I buy a ticket and I'm agreeing to their terms and they're disclosing those terms that I can't transfer these tickets. I mean, is there not responsibility on me to do a little adulting and decide if I want to buy that or not?
I'm not familiar with the terms of what's on the back of the ticket. I know all of us have experienced it at one point or another. But I think this is a clear time. You know, I ask myself the question all the time, when is it appropriate, right, for government to step in? I think this is one of these times when the consumer is trapped in a system where they are buying a product when they may or may not know that they may not be able to resell that or not. So I think it's appropriate for us. I think it's appropriate for us to step in and clarify that in Georgia, our policy position is if you spend your dollars, you have a private property right to a ticket. You are buying more than thin air. Right now, you're buying thin air.
I believe the gentleman believes what he believes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's see. Chairman Carpenter.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Quick question, Scott. Would it be fair to say that the consumers are not contacting you because they truly believe that the ticket they buy is their their ticket? Sorry for the French, but it's their ticket already. So yeah, they're not contacting you because they firmly believe when they buy that ticket, that's their ticket.
If I were to poll 100 Georgians outside the Capitol right now, they would tell me exactly what you just said. When I buy a ticket, I can do whatever I want with that ticket. But that is currently not the case. That's what HB 398 seeks to remedy.
Okay. Is it also not true that there are shows, since everything's done online, that there are shows that you can buy tickets to that aren't transferable currently in Georgia, that you actually have no way of knowing because it's not very clearly stated on Ticketmaster's website that this ticket is non-transferable for a certain period of time, et cetera, et cetera?
That is correct.
All right. Well, let's see, Chairman Jaspers
You got Chairman Mark.
or Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, before I ask my question, to Representative Ridley's point, if he's worried about somebody in Georgia that's been affected with it, I signed an affidavit when I came in on the first day of session that said I was a resident of the 49th district in the state of Georgia, and I had 2 tickets that I was not able to give away if I wanted to a sporting event this fall because they locked down the system and did not let me move those tickets. And I had no other choice. That was the only place the tickets could land. They couldn't come out of there. And I didn't realize that they had to be transferred and moved into somebody's wallet, electronic wallet 3 days beforehand. Now that happened to be not a sports team in this state. It happened to be a sports team in another state. But I mean, it does, these things do happen. So my question is this. In regards to this bill, we all understand this. This is not, tangible personal property. This is a license to occupy that seat for a specific period of time. I guess what we're doing here isn't it true that we're trying to balance the proprietor of that event that can do that against, trying to control that, because we all, not my genre, but I think it was a concert by a pop star a few, I don't know, months ago that all the tickets sold out and everything was a big disaster. That's what they're trying to prohibit, I think, people to come in and do something buying. So my question is simply this. Under my bill or under your bill, if I buy my tickets from University X to go to event Y, I'm locked into that system. If I'm going to sell it, I've got to sell it, in some cases. Other cases, I am free to list. Some people actually allow it. I could list those tickets for sale on You Pick It thing. What you're trying to do here with this bill is just require by law that all of those have to be an open platform, if you will. So is it not true that some of our universities and colleges do actually do that with their tickets now?
More and more performers and venues are entering into exclusive agreements with technology platforms where you cannot escape from that. And so, yes, correct. This bill is saying it is the public policy position of Georgia that we will not prejudice or discriminate against the ability to resell your ticket across multiple platforms. I am not interested in the most expensive price, the cheapest price. I am after a perfect free market where you, the consumer, can sell your goods agnostic of the platform. But what companies in Georgia and elsewhere have done is leverage technology to trap the consumer within a single platform and profit from that. This is plain and simple consumer protection and consumer rights bill.
But my point, if I may clarify, is in the current world now, there are places where you can use multiple platforms.
Correct.
But we're seeing various venues and places go where you can use but one. I asked you that question to why do we need this bill now? Because you don't find as much of the problem as you will find in 2024 as you will find in 2025. And how many platforms you need to have, I don't know, but I know 2 is infinitely better than being held hostage by 1, I believe.
There's a trend toward, yes, that is true. There's a trend toward exclusivity on platforms, and that's what we're trying to avoid here in Georgia.
Anything else, Chairman Martin?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Let's try Representative Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will speak for Georgians. I have spent an embarrassing amount of money on concerts in the last 20 years with my kids. And it was Taylor Swift that's the concert that caused all the controversy. My daughter was in that group. And I think the problem is, and I think most Georgians would agree with me, that it seems that Ticketmaster runs pretty much unfettered. They can do what they want when they want. And what happens when tickets go on sale, there are bots that buy them all, and then they resell them for profit. Now, I know that this bill doesn't address that, but I think personally, anytime we have an opportunity to put some rails on something that's off the rails, I would definitely consider it.
So to answer your question, so bots are currently illegal. It's illegal to employ that technology, and you can be prosecuted for that. Is
As they should.
as they should. Yeah. Again, for me, this bill is plain and simple, codifying the freedoms that Georgians already think they have. The average Georgian already believes that they have a right to the ticket. We are codifying that with HB 398.
And if I bought a ticket, and I have, and spent more than $1,000 on one ticket, and I get there and I can't get in, we're gonna have a problem.
Well, here's what's even worse, though. Imagine you spend $1,000, you want to go to resell your ticket, and you can only resell it for X amount on Ticketmaster because you're trapped in that loop. But you see 5 other sites elsewhere where you could potentially recoup more of your hard-earned money.
Mhm.
All right. Ms. Hutchinson, if you think there's some things that you would like to see in the bill, you need to take a look at some of those proposed amendments there. I think it'll be right telling. Let's see. Let's go back to Chairman Ridley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's start with this. When you buy tickets, you go down to the bottom. It's got a little box. It says terms and conditions. You got to check it. You got to scroll all the way to the bottom and you check that box. Those terms and conditions tells you what you can and can't do with that ticket. None of us read it. We scroll to the bottom because we've got intentions of going. All right. If that ticket says, hey, this is a certain ticket, it's non-transferable, that's on, like Jay said, that's on you. You should have read, know what you're buying. I have bought shirts on eBay that are extra large. When they got here, they may have been for a 5-year-old. Okay. But I'll get there. But okay, so I thought I was buying something, but I didn't read that it says these are not American sizes, these are Asian sizes. I didn't look at the little side down there. Okay, so that's on me. I look really good in them though. But anyway, and you want to talk about a preconceived idea. Well, you can never legislate what somebody thinks something is. I think I can go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, but if the speed limit is 55, they can pull me over for doing 56. It's perceived that you get 10 miles, but you don't for sure. So you're trying to legislate something that's a perceived idea that somebody thinks they own that seat. Let's say I do own, let's say I own that venue and I'm selling spots, tickets, whatever. I should have a right as the guy that's invested in that to tell who can come in and who can't. You got a right, if you want to have a party at your house, to tell me I can come in or I can't. And they should have the same deal. The Chairman Martin's point down here, if you listen to what he said there in his thing, because I know the trouble he had was selling his, he said, I didn't know that I had to transfer them within 3 days. Somewhere probably in that terms and condition box, it probably said that. So that's, and to Representative Hutchins down there may need to be some guardrails, but we're taking everything off. And I'm telling you, I've heard from Tracy Lawrence, one of my best friends. And I've talked to him. He said, you do this, it's all off, because the whole idea about using Ticketmaster or one thing is ticket count. They got to know, because that's how they get paid. They get money off every ticket that's sold. That's how they buy concessions. That's how they know what merchandise to bring. They passed this bill in Ohio. He lost his butt and he's not going back. A bunch of them did, because what happened was they put those bots, got them and put them in the cart. It looks like all these people are coming. You're almost sold out 2 weeks ahead. You start ordering food, all this stuff. 8 hours before the show, they dump them all. Well, now he's stuck. He's got too much food, not enough people there. He's trying to sell tickets. He can't do it. What? I mean, if you got a question, ask.
Hey.
That's exactly what he's talking about. He's saying if you
Gentlemen.
if you buy the ticket and you can't
Gentlemen.
transfer it if you want to sell it.
I'm talking about the so
So, okay, let's go to the resale value part of it. If the reason they're doing that is, what is all the singers complaining about? They're saying blame it on Ticketmaster because they're trying to sell tickets for $350, but they're bringing 10,000. That's not because of Ticketmaster's fault. They're trying to keep it to make it go through that platform to keep it from doing that. What you're fixing to do is open it up to everybody can do it. And you're taking the artist and the promoter that's risking everything. They're risking all the money. And you're saying, I can't even have no tickets for my family. I got to put those on here. I can't withhold any tickets. I can't hold ones for my fan club. I can't do anything. I got to make 100% of them available to everybody, and they can do what they want to with them. And that's what they're going to drive the prices up. You're doing just the opposite of what you're saying you want to do with this bill. And I've killed this thing 3 times last year. I know what I'm talking about.
Sir.
All right. Let's see here, number 23, Mr. Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, every time I had a question, really, actually asked it. The question was, where are the consumers? Are they with you today? I can't really see anybody out there in the crowd. But I guess that question was answered. There's no one here with you, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And then also I was going to talk to you about the terms and conditions, but really, also ask that question as well. No, absolutely. No, perfect. But also,
let me answer the first question. Let me go back.
yes.
There are people with me. There are people, if you go back to your district and
Will you
ask-
guys raise your hand that's with him today? That's a consumer.
the people that are with me are all those back in our districts who we ask, do you own a bill? Would you own a ticket when you buy it? Yes. Those people are all with us on this.
To Representative Ridley's point, about the belief that you could do something versus what is actual fact. And also in the introduction of your, testimony today, you talked about the longstanding belief, about who owns the ticket. But in fact, what you guys are trying to do is actually change what's been in statute for a very long time. In fact, if we even just take a look at lines, 32 to 35, that's exactly what you guys are doing, changing longstanding law that's been codified for years. And so you talking about changing a belief, you're actually changing a law. And it's sort of disingenuous when you started the conversation by saying that.
I'm trying to restore a freedom that consumers currently think they have.
Oh, one last question, Mr. Chairman.
Right in.
Do you have an idea of when is the ticket more expensive? Is it more expensive in the primary market, or is it, less expensive or more expensive in the secondary market? Do you have that data?
I would argue Braves in the playoffs, Braves in the middle of August on a 100-degree day has more of an influence on the price of the ticket than any of the markets you mentioned.
All right. Let's see here. Let's go down here to Representative Minor. Are you number
It's not
18?
my button.
Are you number 18?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Bennett.
Every time I think I understand it, then I don't understand it.
Let me help.
So box now, is that like scalpers where entity purchases a massive quantity of tickets and then resell them at a higher value? That's illegal.
Correct.
If this were to pass, would that become illegal?
No, ma'am.
So what would prevent that from happening?
Well, when this bill passes, bots will still be illegal and can be prosecuted.
So the basic difference is that if this bill becomes law, that once a consumer purchases a ticket, the consumer will have the flexibility to resell that ticket on any platform that offers that service.
Plain and simple. That's all we're trying to do.
And so now they cannot resell the ticket unless it's through a limited market.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see here. Who do we have? Chairman Carpenter.
Thank you, Chairman. There was a little bit of a talk about the bill and about what it did and what it didn't do in regards to fan clubs. So I'm going to ask if the author of the bill will read lines 46 through, hold on. Yep. 46 through 52 for me on your bill, please.
46 to 42 or 46 to
52. Yes, sir.
elect not to offer tickets in a transferable form if those tickets are sold or given to an individual as part of a private event or targeted promotion at a discounted price offered due to an individual's group or group status or affiliation with religious or charitable institutions, societies, civic leagues, or organizations not organized for profit, but operated exclusively for promotion of social welfare, associations of veterans of any wars of the United States, students or groups or individuals characterized by disability or economic hardship.
So would it be fair to say that that section in that would allow an artist to sell at a discounted rate to his fan club and not allow them to transfer those tickets? Is that what that language says?
That's my belief, the intent of that section.
So
Correct.
this doesn't ruin fan clubs, artist fan clubs. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, he's an actor. All right. Chairman Martin, do you want to make a motion?
Sir?
Were you wanting to speak on that motion you were talking about?
Well, I mean, do you want to make it for me? It was going to be a suggestion.
Well, hold that suggestion. We're
Okay.
going to let some of these folks testify.
Yes, sir.
Because they've been waiting for 3 days now, I'm sure. Marla Sharma. Did you by chance testify the other day? Well, then you step right up there and you've got about 3 minutes or sooner. And brevity carries a lot of weight with this chair.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Chairman Powell. I appreciate the opportunity, and I will just skip straight into the meat of this. My name is Mala Sharma. I have worked in the Georgia music industry here for about 30 years. I'm a constituent. I'm a taxpayer. I raised my family here. And I started a nonprofit advocacy organization called Georgia Music Partners about 10 years ago, and we represent the 70,000 music industry professionals that make Georgia their home, that operate the 9,613 music businesses in and around the state. And we oppose this bill adamantly. We're your constituents. I know there's a lot of talk about Taylor Swift and Ticketmaster, but for every Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, there are thousands of touring acts that are investing their business in their business at high risk. They're touring in clubs, theaters, festivals around the country. My testimony today is focused on Georgians, our members, your constituents, who are working musicians, artists like Blackberry Smoke, Widespread Panic, and Mastodon, who oppose HB 394. Others that oppose this bill are Red Light Artist Management in Alpharetta that manages Collective Soul, Styx, and Jet Black Roses, a band you will hear from soon. You guys should check them out. LVRN, a record label based in Atlanta that was started by GSU students, 5 of them. They're one of the biggest record companies and have had tremendous investment from out of state for their artists, Summer Walker and Black. Just our live music sector alone in Georgia supports 24,124 jobs, $2.7 billion in economic impact, and generates $113 million in state and local taxes. Our shows bring people to town to stay in hotels and eat in restaurants. And yes, I'm fired up because I'm very passionate about our industry. While our industry is big business for our state, we are not the large corporations that, that the sponsor had mentioned. We're small businesses, and we often balance one or more additional jobs so that we can play music or work in clubs and earn a living. There is quite a lot to unpack in this bill. I'm going to be as quick as I can. We understand the intention of this bill is to protect the consumer. I think there's some uncertainty about who the consumer is. In the secondary platform market, it seems that the Stubhubs think the consumer is the person who is selling the ticket. As artists and performers, we think the consumer are our fans, the people who are actually buying the tickets, who want to come to the show. This bill does not punish Ticketmaster as its proponents suggest. What it does do is it opens the door wider for the secondary ticket market, of which Stubhub owns the majority share of a $6 billion industry. And it's expected to double in the next 5 to 7 years. The secondary ticket market that we are taking the guardrails off of, while returning nothing to the musicians, the club owners, the music promoters, and the other hardworking Georgians. The artists and promoters assume all the risks. They cover the expenses. They employ the thousands. They work on the slimmest of margins, and companies like Stubhub ensure they receive even less of the earnings than they deserve. Please consider that this legislation negatively impacts Georgia-owned and operated ticket sellers. Fresh Tix and Big Tix are Georgia companies. They are Georgia constituents. This hurts them as well. Right now, as we've heard, in most cases, you can sell your and transfer your tickets. And most of us have done that through any number of platforms. But there are cases when artists and venues and promoters limit resale. And when we've been talking about non-transferability, I want to be clear that in the ticket market for artists, non-transferable doesn't necessarily mean you can't give that ticket away. It means you can't give it away at a higher price than what you purchased it for. That is consumer protection. Artists are producers of a good. Their music and tour are their intellectual property. And the language in this bill essentially restricts their ability to price that good while tipping the scale to the secondary online market, not based in Georgia, but started in Silicon Valley with offices in New York, shielding organized criminals in other countries that are using bots to buy these tickets and raise the prices, honestly, for our Georgians and our fans. This does not sound like the type of practice that makes us the #1 state for doing business. We have a lot of concerns in this bill. I'm going to focus on the top two. The first, take a look at lines 36 through 39. It states that it shall be null and void against public policy to prohibit or limit the terms of conditions of resale of a ticket by applying a term or condition to the original sale of such ticket. Let me give you an example of what this would prohibit. That was what we needed to read about the fan club, that portion of it. Country artist Zach Bryan, who's got 2 scheduled shows at Gas South Arena in Duluth. Zach has elected his tickets to go through AXS and use that non-transferable ticket. So those would now no longer be allowed. So the language that says null and void could potentially be troublesome for shows that have already contracted with venues in Georgia. There are hundreds of Broadway shows, concerts, and Zach Bryan's show that those are legally binding contracts. So are we now, is that government interference in, in the private sector? I think it is. Would you grandfather those contracts? Is it the state's burden now to then monitor those? The second thing this bill does is starting in lines 11.
We've got a lot of other speakers, man. Could you
Okay.
speed it up?
I'm trying to speed it up. It's, as you can tell, this is something that our members are really upset about. We agree that there's a marketplace for buyers and sellers, and it can be good. But make no mistake, it also provides a platform to scout tickets on a large scale, and that's our issue. And while well-intended, this bill, it shifts the balance from one monopolistic company to another. It's not solving the problem. The problem the consumers are having is not that they can't sell their tickets. It's they can't buy them for the face value when they go on sale. That's the problem. And I will answer any questions. I thank you for your time. I will submit my testimony because there's a lot more that I did not get to say.
I want to thank you very much. And there's one thing you did say that we agree on. This whole bill is about winners and losers. I think there's the winners on both sides. So we'll move on. All right. Anyone have a question for the lady?
Oh.
Mr. Ridley.
Whenever the artist puts out a ticket and it's $200 or whatever, and they sell it in the secondary market and they get more money for it, does the artist get any of that additional money?
No, sir.
Okay. And also, how does the artist feel about whenever they get here and their tickets are $1,200 or $1,300? How do they feel about that?
That's the reason. I mean, they try. That's what the transferability is for. Artists have been trying forever to curtail scalping. This bill just opens the gates to more of that.
And my last question, comment, I guess, would be made. You talked about how much risk they take. They don't do these concerts to make money. They do it for their fans. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
And with the sale, with now digital download and all that stuff, they don't make any money off CDs or anything like that. So
that's right.
I mean, they're having to do twice as many shows to 3 times as many shows now per year than they were years ago, because they had the sales of CDs and that kind of stuff that they could back themselves on. So it's a consistent investment every trip, just trying to make it to the next one. Is that not right?
That is, and I'd like you to consider the fact that, for 2 years, the live industry was shut down, the first to close during COVID and the last to reopen. So we're also, it's tough.
Thank you.
Evan Martin.
Yes, sir. I just make this brief, and then if the lady, we could take it offline if you would mind. I see your point in terms of the value of the artist. My question is there not a way we could preserve that and allow the purchaser of a ticket to do it on multiple platforms? So I understand, isn't it true that you buy a ticket for 200 and you sell it for 400 or even more in the case the lady mentioned with the performer Swift? That I understand that, but there's also the case when you're just trying to get it to your grandchildren at a different place and the platform doesn't work for that. So I hear you, and I'll take the rest of it if the lady would be kind enough to step outside and try to find an answer to what I see as a problem and it wouldn't damage your industry, ma'am.
We would be happy to work with the
Thank you.
lawmakers. Thank you.
Chairman Carpenter.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Mala, real quick, a quick question. I do apologize, but I understand the concern. I've been on 1,000 different sides of this. I've helped promote concerts and lost money, so I understand the frustration from that standpoint. But I also understand that the artist is guaranteed on the front side what they're coming to work for. So my question is, if there's so much money to be had in that secondary market, why not price tickets accordingly, what you feel like they should be? If Beyonce's selling for $800 online, then next time you do a show, selling for $800, and there's no fear that you're losing money in the secondary market. And that, to me, is the solution. It's not to say people can't transfer their tickets. People can. I buy tickets. I sell some tickets. I bought tickets to Billy Joel's show at Mercedes-Benz. I couldn't go. I sold them. I lost money because Billy Joel priced his tickets at $400 something a piece, and the market was not there for them. So to me, your issue and the venue's issues is how you're pricing the tickets. Don't get frustrated because you underprice the tickets and cause problem for everybody else to be able to transfer them. Just price your tickets right.
Can I respond, Chairman Carpenter? Okay, thank you. First of all, and also thank you for sponsoring the actual music consumer protection bills that passed last session. Artist protection, Tima and Toga that were signed into law, those help the artist. So your first statement was, don't artists get paid regardless? No, every deal is different. You don't get a flat rate always. Sometimes it's a split of the ticket sales and the door. There's 1,000 different ways. So that's not always the case, but this is a product that they work years. Touring is not something you do once and you try to sell and make the most you can on that one tour. You want to be able to come back, and it's longevity for these artists. You have a show that's undersold, that hurts you next time you want to go through. You have a show that, if you overprice them and people don't come, then the next time you want to book in that club or that venue, they're going to say, you know what, we lost money on you. I don't think we're going to do it. Or so it's not that, I wish it was that simple, but it's a little bit more complex.
And last but not least, Ms. Hutchinson. You want to pass? I don't see any more questions.
Thank you for your time. I'm sorry, but this
3
is
minutes.
something that's
3
important.
minutes, so I went. And one more time, who are you representing?
So a nonprofit, we're called Georgia Music Partners.
So you do not believe that people have a right to have a vested interest in their own tickets when they buy?
Well, actually, sir, in one of those lines in the legislation, StubHub says the same thing. That they don't think that, you should have the right to do with what you want, because they're forcing that ticket owner to then go to their platform. So which is it? I don't understand.
I think we're all agreed this is a pretty confusing issue.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm here not representing a large corporation, but a small concert promoter based here in Atlanta. We own and operate a venue a stone's throw from here in underground Atlanta called the Masquerade. We also promote hundreds of concerts annually around the state in a variety of venues, aside from our own. These venues use a wide variety of primary ticketing platforms, from Access to C-Tickets, Ticketmaster, Dice, Fresh Tix, etc. All of these platforms and the artists whose events are housed on them are plagued by scalping companies and predatory bot buyers. The place where these bot buyers go to dump their inventory are the secondary platforms. When you go to StubHub or Vivid Seats, the vast majority of seats you see being sold there have been purchased fraudulently by bots. This is what happens when a popular event goes on sale. An event announcement is made, typically early in the week. Ads are posted for an end of week on sale. Come Friday, the tickets are made available. Some events are popular and sell out quickly, and some not so much. But at some point on popular events, when unusual or unpredicted spikes in sales activity are observed, you can be assured that the purchases are bots directed by scalpers. At that point, artists and their agencies will request that buyer lists be pulled and scanned to try to identify this fraudulent activity. The signals of these purchases are multiple ticket purchases of the max number of tickets from different email accounts, all using the same IP address, or max purchases from email addresses with fake domains such as Mary33 at ilovetickets.com. And then when you go look up ilovetickets.com, you find it's a domain parked at GoDaddy. It's not real. You recognize that as fraudulent. Excuse me. We cancel those sales. We refund the money and put the tickets back on sale. And this process might be done several times before a show date in order to get tickets into real fans' hands at the desired and contracted ticket price. One thing that I feel is important to note is that a ticket is not the commodity being traded here. The ticket has no intrinsic value of its own. The commodity is the performance, and that belongs to the artist and the promoter. In virtually all cases, an artist never intended their $40 ticket to be vacuumed up by the hundreds and resold for $400.
Damn.
We put a popular event on sale Monday, and before the on sale even started, there were numerous social media posts saying, "Change of plans, can't go, hit me up for tickets." And unfortunately got sick, have to sell mine for an event that's in November. These are scalpers gaming the system and ruining the live event ecology for fans. Other mitigating practices such as delivery delay of barcodes don't harm genuine fans. They're just attempts to limit the ability of scalpers to get their hands on tickets. This is generally lifted close to the event date, and that's the opportunity for fans who wish to sell their tickets to do so on whatever platform they choose. Lastly, I would ask a question that has already been asked, but who is pushing this legislation? Who does it benefit? It's solely these resale platforms located out of state who host and profit from the scalper sales. Where are the voters clamoring for scalping restrictions to be removed? There aren't any. You only have in front of you a broad representation of the live music industry saying, let's work together to fix this for everyone. Let's do that instead of jamming through hasty, harmful, and unneeded legislation. Thank you.
Well, that's pretty good. You only went 2 minutes or further than the other. Thank you, Mr. Green. All right, we have some folks on Zoom. Where is this going to be broadcast at?
Mr. Chair, you know, lose a bunch of folks.
Well,
I had speaking somewhere.
beg your pardon? It's already testified at the subcommittee. Trying to get this thing out. We'll be here tomorrow. All right, we have Mr. Brian Hess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony this afternoon. My name is Brian Hess. I'm the Executive Director of Sports Fans Coalition. Founded in 2009, SFC is a national nonprofit advocacy group devoted to representing fans wherever public policy impacts the games we love. We've worked in the states and at the federal level to pass equal pay for Olympians, youth athlete health and safety reforms, and sports betting consumer protections. In partnership with the National Consumers League and Consumer Federation of America, we've developed the Ticket Buyer Bill of Rights, a set of principles we believe should accompany any ticketing legislation. A key part of our Bill of Rights is the right to transfer, which this bill enshrines in the law. Transferability is an important component of any pro-fan ticketing marketplace. Those who oppose this legislation, including Georgia sports teams, may have told you that restricted tickets protect consumers by eliminating bad actors in the secondary marketplace. This is false. In actuality, this bill is about empowering fans. Fans don't just buy tickets, they sell tickets too. Season ticket holders, for example, want the freedom to sell their tickets if they can't make a game due to illness, work obligations, or any other reason. The ease of resale encourages fans to invest more in Georgia's home teams and allows consumers to purchase season tickets they otherwise would not be able to afford. The ability to freely transfer tickets gives fans, who must often buy event tickets months in advance, confidence their ticket purchase will be protected if they cannot attend an event. As stated before, transferability is a critical consumer protection in the competitive ticket marketplace, and HB 398 provides that right to all sports fans, and I urge the bill be voted favorably. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Who did you say you're with?
Sports Fans Coalition.
Okay, who funds y'all?
We have a few different contributors, all who support our full mission at SFC. Some do request anonymity, but I'm happy to discuss that offline. The reason why is, for example, the NFL retaliated against one of our contributors a few years ago for supporting us. And so we try to protect the interests of our partners.
So you don't want to tell that StubHub funds your coalition?
I can tell you StubHub has contributed, that does contribute to us, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, next up. Thank you, Mr. Hess. All right, next up, we have Carl Zabo.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Carl Zabo. I am Vice President and General Counsel of NetChoice, also a professor at George Mason Antonin Scalia Law School. And, you know, something I always tell my students is just because something is unnecessary doesn't mean it's not worth doing. So you've heard a lot of testimony saying, don't worry, this isn't going on. There's a lot of people in that room who are out there claiming that restrictions on transferability isn't happening. And that's why you shouldn't pass the bill. That's a lot of money sitting in that room opposing a bill that apparently has no impact on them. So I think there is something a bit fishy on that. Now I'll be quick because the Hawks are playing tonight at 7:30. But man, if you wanted to transfer those tickets, you couldn't just hand them over to a friend like you used to. You'd have to install an app, download it, have them sign up for an account, sign up for your account, and then transfer it to them. So you can already see there's a problem at stake. Now, we did polling about a year ago, asking Georgia fans exclusively in Georgia, what do you think about your tickets? 83% of Georgia fans said they support legislation that guarantees their right to resell and give away the tickets as they see fit. That's what we're talking about here today. If you go and ask any of your constituents, can you just give a ticket to a friend? They're overwhelmingly going to say, of course I can. That's an absurd question. But we see those rights eroding, and we ask that you enshrine those rights before they're gone. And with that, we enthusiastically support, and thank you for having us.
Mr. Ridley.
Hello, who did you say you're with?
I'm with Net Choice.
That Choice, okay. Are you here just out of the goodness of your heart, or who's paying you?
No, absolutely not. We promote free expression and free enterprise on the internet. You can actually see a list of all of our members at netchoice.org. And basically, look, I'm a conservative. I believe in the free market, but the free market has failed in this case.
Is StubHub one of your people?
We need to make absolutely. So is Amazon, Etsy, Pinterest, and a large majority of the online marketplace. And that's what we're talking about, making sure how to have free transferability for everyone in the way that we always have.
I don't think you get to have a free transferability. How do you get to be $1 billion company with free transferability? We need to figure that out.
That well, exactly the same way you buy and trade any item, whether it's a commodity good or otherwise.
All right. Number 17. That would be Ms. Maynard.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing the bill, Representative. I keep hearing who is paying who. And so this question is actually for the speaker online. I feel like it's a question of, are presenters today paid by Ticketmaster and Live Nation versus our presenters being paid by StubHub? Would you agree with that?
I can. So, I can only speak for myself. StubHub is a member of NetChoice, but one of the things that we do in NetChoice is we operate on principles, free expression, free enterprise. And we do plenty of things that we tell our members have plenty of positions that we disagree with and we won't speak to them. This here is something that we vehemently believe in. But I will say a lot of the people on the other side are reading from talking points that we've heard all around this country. Every time Ticketmaster wants to oppose this legislation, they hand them out. And you know what? A lot of states have enacted this and their constituents are loving it. They're still seeing shows. They haven't fallen off the face of the planet. So I think this is pretty simple bill, and I really just want to help get you all out of here on time.
Follow up for Representative Hilton. Is there a third party, meaning if this is a discussion about StubHub versus Ticketmaster / Live Nation, who is the third party other than the artists who are providing these recreational activities for us? Is there a third party? And then the second question is, right now the artists are partnering with Live Nation / Ticketmaster. Can they partner with StubHub and other entities, or are the artists locked into, and maybe that might be a question for the young woman that was up here, are they locked into a contract with Live Nation, Ticketmaster, or can they have contracts with anyone?
They can have contracts with whoever, but the unfortunate reality is we're seeing a growing trend toward a contract with Live Nation / Ticketmaster, where They serve as judge, jury, and executioner. They host the event, they sell the tickets, and then they resell the tickets, and you're trapped in that kind of closed loop. You asked who the third party is in all this. You're right. We've got Stubhub here, and it's like I said at the beginning, we've got Ticketmaster here. You and I are the third party. Whoever said it said it best. This is all about control. Who ultimately, at the end of the day, has control over the ticket? Is it us? Or is it the venue / promoter / That's what this committee has to decide.
Chairman Collins.
I just had a one quick question for the gentleman who is online there. Is TikTok one of your affiliate members also?
Yes, TikTok is a member of NetChoice.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Chairman Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the professor from George Mason, my question is, do you condone the use of these bots to be able to gather tickets at the front side? As a free market conservative, do you condone that capitalistic behavior?
The bots are straight up illegal. Congress passed a law back in 2016 making the use of bots to circumvent these types of protections illegal. The problem is, though, not a single case has been brought. So what'll happen is somebody will circumvent Ticketmaster's systems and buy up a bunch of tickets, and they're gone. And of course, nobody at StubHub knows about that. Nobody on a secondary market knows about that. But Ticketmaster knows about it. They can refer that immediately, not only to the U.S. Department of Justice, but to your state AG for prosecution. But it doesn't happen. And that's where the system is breaking. But that has nothing to do with the bill we're talking about here today. We're talking about the ease with which you can give away your ticket just like you always have. Just like you used to go and grab a ticket, second inning of a Braves game, and walk up and buy it, and walk up and use it.
Just a follow-up question then, because you haven't been privy to all the discussion. I've heard almost without exception, everybody's talking about the bots. We've heard it earlier today that drives up ticket prices and it keeps some avid fans away because it's out of their price range for certain sports teams and such as that. But my question is, being a technology-driven advocacy organization that you are, is there any effort through your organization to figure out a way to control this behavior? It's illegal. Is anyone working on a way to figure out a way to stop this robotic purchases of tickets?
Yeah, my members are constantly trying to create systems to prevent people from doing this. And actually, you see it all over the place. You'll be logging in somewhere and you'll click the "I'm not a robot" button. But the problem is there's only one place to buy tickets, and that's Ticketmaster. And I don't know what type of software they use, but it's not working too well. There was actually a report a couple of years ago that Ticketmaster is actually working with scalpers to circumvent these protections and use the bots. So that's a really big issue. I think it's worth delving into, but I don't want to let that muddy the water of what is a really simple bill about letting Georgians control the tickets that they buy.
Well, thank you for answering my question.
That's why I would ask that you advance it.
You've answered my question. Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Ridley, one more time to attack.
All right. I'm just glad you're not having to be sworn under oath, because you had just committed perjury about 3 different times there on some of the lies you just told. Is it not true that Ticketmaster and Live Nation own the venue that the artist agrees to have the concert at? They sign the agreement with them to have it there. So that's the reason that they're selling the tickets there. And that StubHub, the reason, to the gentle lady's question down there, the reason StubHub, they don't sign with them is because they're only a second seller of the tickets. They don't own an actual venue and can the artist can sign up to work through. They do all the marketing, all that kind of stuff. Now let's go back to the bots question just for a second. Explain to me why Ticketmaster hadn't even put tickets out on the market yet, and all of a sudden some of them's gone. Why would they do that to themselves? And then they're available on StubHub.
Yeah, great question. That's one of the dirty little secrets in the ticket selling market. It's called holdbacks, which this bill doesn't touch either. Reports by the New York AG a couple years ago have kind of opened the kimono on it. A lot of the tickets for the most popular shows never even make it to primary sale. 70, 80% of tickets never available to the general populace to even have a chance at buying. They're held back by the artists, the venues, and Ticketmaster and their parent company Live Nation. So the New York AG did a whole deep dive into that, another kettle of fish. But once again, it gets away from the simplicity of this bill, which is just if you're going to be late and unable to make the Atlanta Hawks game today, and you see your staffer there or you see your colleague there who's able to get out, you just want to hand them the ticket because you can't make it, can't do that today. We want to make sure that you have that right in Georgia.
Well, just a single follow-up question. You was talking about the Attorney General in New York. Did y'all not pass this bill in New York, and the Attorney General went to the legislature and asked them to repeal the bill because they were having so many issues with people getting tickets after this bill was passed in New York?
You know, I can't speak to the mindset of the New York AG, but I can tell you that Virginia, Connecticut, Utah, Colorado all have some version of this law. And in Utah, it passed virtually unanimously. That's because fans want it.
But you just said that the Attorney General in New York found out secrets about Ticketmaster doing all this stuff. But now you're saying you don't know anything about what the Attorney General did in New York about repealing this bill after it was passed?
You know, I can't speak to the mindset of the New York Attorney General. But
Okay.
as I said, New York's had this on the book for many years. They have a lot of concerts, a lot of shows, and the fans seem really happy.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
My goodness. Let's see, it's minor.
Thank you, Chairman. My next question is for Representative Hilton. I most likely am going to vote no on the bill. I'm voting no on the bill because many of the venues in my district, being downtown, in that Midtown, Atlantic Station, Ben Stadium, those are technically my constituents as well. It is a hard place to be in because I do believe that people should have the right to do what they want to do with their ticket. The concern is, have we addressed anything that's happened at the federal level when the federal legislators were talking with Ticketmaster about that's still in progress? Because I would wonder what was the end result of that, but just letting you know why I'm a no vote.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And Mr. Chair, I will offer, I know we're kind of late in the day here.
We are late in the day, and I want to move on with this meeting because we've got 3 more people. And I'm glad to know that you're going to vote with your constituent industries downtown. But let's move on. Let these last 3 people testify, please. Chuck Lavelle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. I will be very brief. I'm Chuck Lavelle. I'm the musical director and keyboardist with the Rolling Stones. I've also had a career working with the Allman Brothers Band back in the 70s, played with or recorded with the Black Crowes, John Mayer, David Gilmour, Miranda Lambert, Eric Church, and a host of others. I would urge the committee and the chairman to listen closely to the testimony given by Mr. Green and by Mala. I think they state the case very clearly. If you think bingo is complicated, this is a lot more complicated. And I would also point out that it's interesting to me that the people that are opposed to this bill are from Georgia, and those that want it passed are not.
Any questions, Mr. Lavelle? I'm impressed with you, sir. You better, you walked this earth long enough to know that brevity really does mean a lot to me. Thank you so much, Chuck.
I appreciate that.
All right, Dr. Lowry.
Thank you very much. I didn't grow up in Georgia, but I've been teaching here at University of Georgia for 10 years, no, 11 years now. So I feel like a Georgian now, especially since we have such a great football team. I grew up in California. People think of beaches and surfers and, you know, skateboarding and Silicon Valley and Hollywood. I grew up in inland California. There were a lot of ranches, orchards, farmers. There was a feedlot about 2 exits down the freeway. And I haven't smelled that terrible smell in a long time until I heard people testify here in this hearing. I mean, you know what I'm getting at. This is basically a lot of forced manure. I prepared a bunch of slides here, but I'm not going to do it. Look, what this bill, can I share screen? Can I share slides? Yeah, I think I can.
You're still there.
There. Okay. So look, this is the ticket market. There's a face value. I took one ticket. This is an example. This is the face value of the ticket, right? $110 for this innings festival in Georgia. It was sold on Ticketmaster. You get tickets, a ticketing service charge, and then a tax, and that's $33. That brings it up to $143. Then it pops up on StubHub. And this is, I was trying to be nice. I was trying to find a StubHub example where they didn't mark it up very much, right? So mark it up $10, and then StubHub charges $57 in reseller fees, right? This bill only limits that first fee, number 2, right? And because it limits non-transferable tickets, ensuring these tickets end up on StubHub, the volume of tickets that are going to get this $67 of markup is a lot more. So what this bill does, and by the way, I've written amicus briefs for the Supreme Court. I've submitted amicus briefs for the Supreme Court. I didn't write them, but I kind of know my way around this legal stuff. So reading this bill, what happens here is that all you're doing is adjusting maybe the ticket agency service fee, the Ticketmaster fee, and then you're pushing all these more tickets onto StubHub, which marks it up more than anybody else. That's why this is the StubHub bill. And look, this is a highly technical statement, but I think everybody can understand it. You know what the opinion of StubHub is among bands, artists, and fans? Is they're the worst company in the music business. In fact, I bought a ticket here 2 nights ago for Depeche Mode at the State Farm Arena here. These tickets aren't on sale till tomorrow. I checked with the venue owner. There was no holdback. These are fake tickets, or maybe they're like ticket futures or options or derivatives. And judging by the suits of the people who testified here, the lobbyists who testified here, I think they need to give me, they probably got $300 in their pocket. I think they need to give me my $300 back. I'd also direct the state attorney general's office to look at how does StubHub offer futures on tickets. And look, at least Vivid Seats actually admit that that's what they're doing. Here's that same ticket on Vivid Seats, and they're saying this is just a promise to procure a ticket. Does the Security and Exchange Commission know this? I hope some of the StubHub lobbyists haven't left. Maybe we can get them to answer some of my statement, some of what I've shown you here, okay?
Is that it? Dr. Lowry?
That's it, sir. You can read my written testimony. My written testimony details all this. I'd be glad to send you these slides, but you're literally rewarding the worst company in the music business. So.
All right, just a couple of quick questions, Dr. Lowry.
Dr. Larry, this is Representative Martin. I don't know if you see me. To your first example, where in the bill do you see that it's trying to limit that first portion? Because I'm not reading the bill that way, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Don't you have a limit? The bill has a $3 limit on ticketing fees, which is fine with me. I don't care. I'm a performer. I have no dog in this fight here, right? On the ticketing fees.
That's existing law. That's existing law. The bill doesn't change that. That's just printed on the.
No.
first
The new
line.
bill says something about $3 limits the ticketing fees to $3. But
Yeah,
I'm more
yes, sir. That's-
concerned
that's
about.
I mean, just to be clear, I'm not.
I
being
don't care. That's a good part of the bill. That's
Okay.
the good part of the bill.
Okay, well,
But it doesn't do any, it's not gonna, it does not apply to those $57 StubHub fees. Those are excluded. So those will still happen and the markups will still happen. And because StubHub doesn't care if there's bots buying tickets and selling them on their platform. I mean, come on, 2 minutes later, tickets appear on StubHub 2 minutes after they go on sale. That's not a human doing that. They have actual knowledge of when they have to have actual knowledge of when they're selling bot purchase tickets on their platform. It's a fence. They're acting as a fence.
I don't care about StubHub. I was just trying to get.
But your bill enables StubHub. What is
Okay,
what's your point?
Okay, I mean, that's your opinion. And I respect it. I was just trying to get.
It's not my opinion. I mean, I can give you. I'll do a research paper on this for you if you like.
Well, you may do that if you wish. That I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find a point of agreement here. So you're not opposed to multiple channels being able to offer things. You just don't want somebody to be given an exclusive, correct?
Well, what I'm saying is if you're trying to limit if what you really want to do here is limit I run a fan festival, okay, in California. I've run it for 15 years. I've started another one here in Georgia that I've moved here. It's a much smaller one, right? What fans want are cheap tickets that are refundable, okay, and refundable within reason, right? So face value tickets that are refundable, they don't want to buy them from third parties. There's not a fan out there that wants to buy their ticket from StubHub. I know fans, right? But what you're doing is you're making, so the way we sell tickets at face value is by making them non-transferable for the fan club. And by the way, somebody on here said that section of the bill would not limit fan clubs. That's not true. Fan clubs are not, they're part of the band. They're a for-profit company. You know, a band is a for-profit company. So that part of the bill would limit fan clubs from selling the ticket.
Dr. Lowry, we have one other person. Well, he was like.
Yeah, that's great. I think read my written testimony. I answer all of this in there.
Thank you, Dr. Lowry. Last but not least, we have a Monty Jones.
Hello, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Madam Secretary. My name is Monty and the rest of the committee members. My name is Monty Jones Jr., and I represent Oakview Group, OBG 360. I manage a facility currently in Market Arena and Johnny Mercer Theater in Savannah, Georgia. I have been in the entertainment industry for well over 20 years. Majority of that has been in the state of Georgia, from Augusta, Macon, and now Savannah. I just want to provide you two stories for fans that I had to deal with personally as the general manager of the facility. Coming into a concert, a grandmother and a granddaughter coming to a show, they purchased ticket on a secondary platform. But once they came in, their tickets did not scan. So then they go to the box office and they found out that their tickets are not valid. So at that point, I was instructed to go and I went to talk to them because I have a grandmother and a granddaughter sitting there crying into my box office area, lobby area. So we're going through the process and looking at the actual tickets that they have. Those tickets were sold on a secondary platform and were invalid as a whole. So therefore, they paid a well amount of money for those tickets and they couldn't get into the show. On top of that, the show was a sold out show. There were entirely no tickets available. It was a truly sold out show. So now I have a crying grandmother and granddaughter who can't see an artist that the granddaughter wanted to do. So what I end up doing, I go and purchase a t-shirt for that said concert and I bring it to the granddaughter so she can feel that as she was there for that concert. Second instance, a father and a son are coming to an event. They come in, scan their tickets. Again, their tickets won't scan. So then we come to find out that someone had actually already scanned the same exact tickets that they had into the event. We go and actually find the people who are in those seats to figure out if they actually have those seats. Come to find out, we have them both in our ticket office lobby. They both purchased the tickets on a secondary platform from the same exact person. So they multiplied the same ticket 2 times that we were aware of. And so therefore, in that instance, the first person, whoever got there first, that was the person that was able to get into the show. So now, therefore, again, this father and son are having to go and spend more money to purchase tickets because they weren't able to go in on the tickets that they purchased on a secondary platform. Thank you for your time. I was sharing you those 2 instances.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Representative Hutchinson, I just didn't speak quick enough.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question. How would this bill help the 2 situations that you just explained?
So it helps on the platform of the resale with having it opened up. By having that platform just open up on the resale platform, it helps to standpoint with giving them free range for this to be more of an occurrence instead of having it on a minimum standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We have had all of it we can stand. I've got some suggestions, but it's certainly left up to the will of the committee. We've lost several members. We've got some that are chewing the seat up right now because they need to get on to other events. If the committee wants to table the bill, because we'll be having another meeting this week on the other bill, the previous bill on the bingo. I think this is serious enough in my observations. And I'll be honest with you, I know a little bit about this, but my knowledge is 30 years outdated. I was involved in the ticket brokering bill back in the 90s, passed it 4 times. I'm going to tell you, nobody's clean in this industry. Nobody. But since that time, we have moved into technology. Back in the day, the only thing that I was fighting the fight for was an individual's right to resell their tickets. I've heard some discussion here today that gives me a lot of concerns that people are willing to say, I don't have an interest in putting my hard-earned money up for a ticket, but I do. And I respect that. That's property rights. I also understand on behalf of the teams, the venues, the promoters, you also have an obligation. You got an obligation. It's a business. Ticketmasters, I've heard 80% or plus. I don't know what the true amount is. But there's one thing that I have realized. The problem here is all technology based. This botting business, I don't think it's right. I think that me or you as an individual, you bought a ticket for you and your family, you've got a right to sell that ticket. And I think that's what Representative Hilton is after. I don't know anything about Stubhub or none of these other companies. I'm way past the point. I don't buy tickets. I just watch the venue at home because I can pour a drink when I want to, and I can see the replays of an event. And that's personally my choice. I may be the only person in this room that doesn't even have an Uber app, quite frankly, because I refuse to patronize folks who don't pay their taxes. But that's just me. That's my stubbornness. I would really like to have some discussion, but we're way over time tonight. People's left. I'm more interested that we look at some of the amendments at the proper time. In discussions with Peter and some others, I realize that one of the problems, and quite honestly, on their behalf, I'll tell you, this idea about botting, I never had thought about botting until earlier in the week. But when you have people that are so technologically advanced that they zoom in there and they buy blocks of tickets, I don't agree with it. That is scalping. Me as the owner of a ticket, that's not scalping. That's free enterprise to sell your ticket. But this botting stuff where they zoom in and they outpace everybody with all of this stuff, But I've been told that even with the resources of Ticketmaster, they can't control body. Well, like I said, I'm not a technological guy, but I asked Chairman Todd Jones, and he's probably the most technologically guy that I know in the legislature. And he said, yeah. He said, they can take care of that. They've got the technology to get rid of the body. And I don't know anything other but take somebody's word for that knows better than I do. I know that my feeble mind with technology is I've been online before and they asked me, am I a robot? Well, then they asked me to identify the red light in a half a dozen pictures. And apparently that must do away with it. But that's one of the things I'd like for this committee, if this committee comes back and hears the rest of this test or gets into some lively debate. But I'd like for y'all to look at those amendments. One of them's the one that I had prepared that makes it a serious penalties for botting. I believe it's $50,000. And I really wanted to put disgorgement on top of that for botting. So, of course, there's also enough in here for all sides that not like. But that being said, if the committee would be in agreement, then we will come back tomorrow, the next day, whatever time the others get prepared. And let's take a look at it. And you can amend the bill, you can kill the bill, you can add to the amendments, you can do whatever you want to. But, I would give my concerns, we're unfortunately, we're living in the time of the Truman Show, folks. Y'all remember Truman Burbank from the great town of Sea Haven? He just lived his life and he was controlled by the monopolies and by the TV crews and the such. But I'm fearful that's where we're going when I start hearing people who say that they don't really care about their interest. So what is the will? Would this committee like to set this bill aside and come back when we do the I will recognize you for that purpose now.
I don't have the LC number, Mr. Chairman, but I move to table HB 398.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other motions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're going to have a show of hands. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh. Well, I guess this is on the table until we can come back. But I would remind this committee, please take a good look at these amendments. I mean, don't forget the legislative process. What Representative Hilton's his original bill may not even look the same. That's part of this process, and it's a lost art of this game. But look at these amendments, ladies and gentlemen, and this bill will be called up again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank y'all. I will apologize to the folks for us dragging this thing out so long.